What is up, YouTube? How y'all doing? We are back at Too Strong's channel. I'm trying to run a God dang it, golly. Is this on Too Strong? Yeah, it is at Too Strong's channel. Yeah. Y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell, man. This is Othello Johnson blowing the whistle on the traffickers. Obama? Oh my God. I don't know who to believe now. All our heroes, man, is it's like you're looking at all these superheroes and you thought they was the good guys and this is the villains, and come find out that they done changed this stuff all around, man. It's deep thoughts even in cartoons, and the villain is always some rich guy, like, you know. And, oh my God, y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Check this out, man. The Music Recording Network live. We doing a live channel, and we're gonna we talk about different things, and you guys can chat and give me some feedback and all that type of stuff. Come on the show if you want. You can come on the show and voice your opinion and everything at the Music Recording Network live. Scroll down a little bit. You see the world, right? Our world logo with the word live written in red. Or you can check our description and check the links below or whatever. It should be a link down there to go to the live. So y'all hit that subscribe button, hit that bell. Let's check this
President Barack Obama aided and assisted in the coordination of the federal kidnapping of my son.
Barack Obama fired 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦.
The president's decision to fire a federal inspector general.
Inspector General 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦, who investigated Mayor Kevin Johnson during the AmeriCorps sex scandal in Sacramento County.
Our top story of the early afternoon, a new push for details about the investigation into abuse allegations against Sacramento mayoral hopeful Kevin Johnson.
Officer Charleston Hartfield's body was the only police officer whose dead body was ever shown all platforms of social media.
I love and miss Yeshua so much. I just want him to come home.
They denied me due process. They denied me the opportunity to speak, and they dropped the felony charges against me.
And the next thing I know, he comes back. He's sweating. His face is wet with sweat. He grabs Joshua up in a blanket, and I didn't see them again for months.
What? All kinds of crazy he say, she say stuff going on. Let's check this out, man. This is
1996, I created Integrated Media Arts Program. It was part of Sierra Digital Arts Studio Partnership, which is all the media arts teachers in Sacramento Valley, all the way to Nevada. That program fell under Dr. Bill Brownston, nonprofit. Now, about 2003, I had 1,500 students in my program, and we became very popular because we had short films that we distributed throughout the city. 2005, the city of Sacramento requested our program's assistance in battling youth homicide and high school graduation rates in Sacramento County. So the city of Sacramento requested our partnership in 2005. That was a good time for us because we also picked up a $26 million grant from the Department of Justice. That grant allowed us to sign up 25,000 youth in Northern California for our program. I needed after school media arts tutor for students battling math issues. So I went to Sacramento State University and I found Mrs. Shoshana Michelle Robertson. She was the first cousin of Mayor Kevin Johnson, NBA star you guys may have heard of.
I'm Kevin Johnson, and I'm running for mayor of Sacramento, California. I'm here at the Democratic Convention in Denver, Colorado, because I'm a proud American and I'm a proud Democrat.
she began working with me. Within about 3 months, she moved in. I had no idea she was running from a federal investigation from Inspector General 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦. And I had no idea she was in a program with Mayor Kevin Johnson that went haywire, and she was running from a federal investigation. Long story short, 2006, we had a citywide event for youth because it was the worst 1 week period in Sacramento history where youth had been murdered. So the city needed our assistance in getting the youth together. So we had this youth summit. Everybody came, FBI, all the law enforcement agencies, in order to find out the solution to these youth. The youth requested our program over everything that was going on.
I thank God for our fellow Johnson because truly I have a love for music. And that's every time that I come to somebody about, I want to do music, and they're like, oh yeah, cool, dude. Oh, you can sing. Oh.
So much talent that is hidden because we don't have people like Othello. He giving us free studio time. I never in my life had anybody come at me with free studio time.
There ain't nothing that you want to learn that you can't learn here.
This program has been a lifesaver for my grandson. My grandson is Sean Middleton, Killer Keys, and he just turned 16 Thursday, and he's a rapper.
So for the first time in history, the Sacramento Police Department was not funded by the city of Sacramento, and our program was funded over the city of Sacramento Police Department. That was the first time this ever happened in the history of the city. 2007, I graduated from Intercoast College with a credential in alcohol and drug counseling. I had to obtain that credential for the Department of Justice grant. While working at 17 different locations under the city of Sacramento and Mayor Fargo, on June 21st, 2007, my first child was born, 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦. Soon after, I found out that Shoshana's drinking problem was more serious than I thought. She had been drinking since the age of 10, and she was a blackout alcoholic. In the beginning, when we first met and she first moved in, we recorded about 21 hours of videotapes for our youth program. This was part of the film called A Road to a Youth-Friendly City. Inside of these videos, she broke down every person who molested her from age 3 all the way up to age 15. Those people that she talked about were, number 1, Mayor Kevin Johnson. Number 2, Governor Brown. Number 3, her aunt, who was a career criminal, Sarah Mitchell. Her uncles, her brother, Arthur Robertson Sr., her own father, Arthur Robertson. And there were Magic Johnson. There were a lot of other names, but those were the names that I remember.
When I met her at the after-school program, Shoshana was sitting and telling me about that she had been molested ever since the age of 3, as far as she could remember. And then she told me that she was in after-school program and Kevin Johnson was the leader of the program. I suppose it was his program, and that he liked her because she had Johnson liked her because she had big breasts, and so she felt special because she thought that Kevin Johnson just liked her. But Shoshana found out later on that Kevin Johnson was doing it to a lot of other children, and so Shoshana became depressed, and Shoshana tried to commit suicide. I think she was around 11 or 12 years old at the time. And then she said that her mom let Kevin Johnson take her wherever he was going on tour with the basketball team or whatever for 2 weeks. Kevin Johnson had her for 2 weeks.
These were the people who molested her. She had all their names just in case they chose to do something to her. She wanted us to keep the tapes, so she gave those tapes to me. I had those tapes. On Election Day 2008, I believe November 4th, they came for those tapes after I told her to come back with the child. She told Mayor Kevin Johnson that I was going to give up those tapes because we had broke up. So they came for me and they came for the tapes. The police, Mayor Kevin Johnson's police department came for the tapes and they got the tapes. They illegally came into my home. Captain Daniel Hahn took all the videotapes out of my home and they couldn't arrest me because I didn't do anything. And they sent me to mental health and they kept me there for 19 days. 2009, I began working at WIN Youth Services in North Sacramento, 95815. I was still under Sacramento City Council, Hammond and Pinnell's Department of Justice grants. We created a documentary called 95815. It was funded by the Department of Justice, and it explained why our community was the #1 mortality zip code in the nation, 95815. It explained why Starbucks was sitting next door to a crematory and why the cancer rates were so high. This was a nonprofit organization, even though it was a continuation high school for Twin Rivers. I was not only a teacher there, I was a media arts curriculum educator and the lead alcohol and drug counselor. All of this fell under the Department of Justice grant for LGBTQ homeless youth. While working the alcohol and drug part of this grant, two 14-year-old students, spoke about being molested by a police officer. So I had to do an investigation. When I investigated the case, they had been homeless for approximately 2 years, and for the last 2 years they have been exchanging meth for sex with a police officer. I got the police officer's name and I filed a mandated child abuse report with my boss, who was the president of Sacramento Unified School District, Ellen Bell. I followed up with the request and it didn't seem like it was moving like I would hope that it would move. I would hope that, they would immediately get this guy in custody. Whoever he was. I didn't know who the gentleman was. I just had his name. And it didn't work out as fast as I wanted it to work out. So I followed up the second time with a second report, but this time I went over her head and I sent it directly into the state where the reports are supposed to be made. And next thing I know, I'm going up a ladder that goes to the roof of the building. I was requested to go up to this ladder to get some supplies where we keep all our supplies in the attic of our school. I'm going up the ladder, and when I'm coming down with the supplies, I hear an explosion. Boom! I wake up in the hospital. I fell through a glass meeting table. It's a about 25-seat meeting table in the meeting room. It was alongside of the attic, and I fell through that. So I fell through that, and I'm in a pool of blood, and that was the end of my career at WIN Youth Services. Circling back to Donald Black. Donald Black was a 24-year Sacramento sheriff veteran who was exchanging meth for sex with two of my LGBTQ Department of Justice grant clients. at Win Youth Services in 95815. Following this report, we called North Sacramento captain, who was Daniel Hahn, on the speakerphone with the president of Sacramento Unified School District, Ellen Bell. He confirmed receipt of the complaint. I had no idea that he was friends to this person, and it basically got pushed underneath the rug. After that, 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 Robertson got caught doing 100 miles an hour with 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, my son, in the car, along with her mother, Pamela Robertson. She was taken to jail, and eventually I got full custody of my son, 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓.
He had physical custody of Yeshua. Yeshua was not going to school. He had Yeshua out of school the entire time that he was gone with Yeshua. I took a drug test, a hair drug test, and I was found dirty for cocaine, in which he was given custody. Yeah, I had a DUI in 2009. And so then I had to submit to alcohol saliva tests in order to see my son.
She wasn't charged with PC 273A, which is child endangerment, which is a 6-year sentence because of the mother's relationship with the district attorney, Jan Scully. 2010, February, I follow up with 2 mandated child abuse. This is my second mandated child abuse report on Donald Black and my 2 students who are now missing. I woke June 15th, 2010. My son's mother drug test came back positive for multiple drugs, and the judge gave me full custody. All she had to do was go to her drug treatment, and she would, we could split custody. It wouldn't have been a problem. So I assisted with helping her get sober. I took her to her program every day because the only program that was available, she had to bring her child, which is our son, Yeshua, with her every day. That was the only program available. It had to do with parents and children. So I took her to a program every day. She never got sober. This was her choice. And full support from me and my part of the family. We did everything we could to assist her in her recovery. And it was her choice not to get sober. So I never lost custody until today. Not even until today. I'm still have full custody of my son, and she's never assisted or tried to get that custody back. In 2011, I'm taking my son's mother, 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦, and my son home from the rehabilitation alcohol and drug counseling center that she has to go to every day. We're on, I believe, our 9th month. It was a 30-day program, but now we're on our 9th month. And we walk into the house, and next thing I know, they're beating me with bats and irons over my head. It was 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 Robertson, Pamela Robertson, and Sarah Mitchell, which was her aunt. I wake up in the ambulance, and my shirt's bloody, and I'm being arrested by Sacramento Sheriff Donald Black, the same person I just filed this report on. And that happens I file for child support and I send my nephew to 𝗗𝗢𝗡 mother's home. When they get to the home, there's a party going on, people in the house. My nephew hands over the paperwork and they chase my nephew down. People out of the house, her relatives, her cousins, and they shoot him twice in the face. Bam, bam. And I get to the hospital. Now I'm heartbroken. I'm sick. Thinking I'm about to lose my nephew because I sent him over there, gave him $20, and they got him, and he lived. And it's been a horrific, domestic violence experience. Horrific domestic violence experience, not only from my son's mother, but from the family. These are all convicts that we're talking about. And I had no idea Sacramento Sheriff Donald Black and the grandmother of my son Yeshua were friends for over 25 years. They're both leaders in their unions, and it's what I eventually find out. That situation just scared me to death. I'm petrified now because I've never been hurt like that in my life. I've never been assaulted by anyone, other than a junior high school fight. So I get my friend at the time, I get her pregnant. I don't want anything to do with 𝗗𝗢𝗡 and her family at all at this point because they are violent, and I'm in constant fear for my safety around them, following my nephew being shot and following me being beat unconscious with baseball bats. In fact, 𝗗𝗢𝗡 admits to this in our family services report. So 2011, I'm done. I'm done with, dealing with being a horrific victim of domestic violence. I'm done. I can't take it anymore. So I get my daughter's mother pregnant. My daughter was born July 25th, 2012. And that enraged 𝗗𝗢𝗡 to the point of murder. She wanted to kill me. She's on these drugs, and my child's mother is not African American, so she wanted me really bad. And the fact that she was one of the most beautiful young ladies in the town didn't help at all. 2012, July 2nd, 𝗗𝗢𝗡 Robertson, she fakes a suicide. This suicide is meth induced, and she does it as a plan with her mother in order to gain custody, to get the union support behind her. She promoted it as if it was her first suicide, which in fact it was maybe her 6th, 7th suicide attempt. And the first one was documented in 2002, when she was 12 years old, actually. July 2nd, that's when she attempted the suicide. July 25th is when my daughter was born by Amanda Domandan, beautiful Filipino Hispanic goddess. She did not want her son, who I had full custody of at this time, to be raised, with this non-African American mother, was her saying. And so she did everything she could to make that not happen. On September 28th, 2012, she obtained custody of the child even though she was on supervised visits as a meth addict, she obtained full custody of the child on the golf course. Judge Jane Ure, U-R-E, Sacramento County, gave her full custody of the child without a court date on September 28th. The same day, a murder attempt occurred on me while I was walking my dog, 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦, along the river. We go to the river. I see Corey Credit and Leslie Joseph Owens, two career criminals and husband to the mother of Shoshana Robertson and cousin to the mother of Shoshana Robertson. They pull around the corner and all I hear is gunshot. Pow, pow, pow. Right directly in front of my head, right inches from my head, I was at a tree and the tree split. Pow. So I knew they were on me. So I run faster and faster and faster. I finally get home. I call the police. They come. They said they suggested me to leave town. So I left town. I returned to Sacramento on the 5th of October. I go straight to court. And my original judge was there. And he wanted to know, how did this woman obtain custody without a court date? He wanted to get to the bottom of it. But there was already an investigation going on with Judge Lori Earl and Sacramento Sheriff Captain Beggs of the Sacramento Superior Court Division of I guess it was their U.S. Marshal Service inside of the courthouse. So they were already investigating what was going on. So because I informed them the day that it happened, I had already got the investigation started. So now the judge is in the hot seat because how do you give a person custody without a court date? So that's kidnapping. That is, public corruption. That's a federal
crazy
crime. So now we're dealing with upcoming federal court date for these illegal things that done happened to me in the middle of an attempted murder. So the same day she gave her full custody.
Wait a minute, man. Hold up. I got to take a half a breather. That's crazy, man. You just give some, what? One more time, wait a minute.
What was going on. So because I informed them the day that it happened, I had already got the investigation started. So now the judge is in the hot seat because how do you give a person custody without a court date? So that's kidnapping. That is, public corruption. That's a federal crime. So now we're dealing with upcoming federal court date for these illegal things that done happened to me in the middle of an attempted murder. So the same day she gave her full custody, an attempted murder occurs. The only way for her to get custody of a child is if I'm dead. So people have to put that together, what was really going on. She wanted custody so bad and she didn't want me to raise our son with the mother of my child now, who is Amanda Demondon, the mother of my daughter. Before I could leave town again after September 28th, I had to sell everything in my home. Now I'm out of here because my life is in danger, my child's life is in danger, and I'm in fear that she's going to do something to my newborn and my mother of my child. So I plan to get out of town. At this time, I called my father, who does private investigations and stuff like that. He's William McKinley Johnson. So I called him in, explained to him what's going on. He flies out the next day. And he begins investigating what's going on. So he ends up making some type of deal with Mayor Kevin Johnson where he got $300,000. I don't know the specifics of the deal, but he gets $300,000 from Mayor Kevin Johnson to, I guess, make things go away, make sure that I don't contact the federal government and follow up on what was going on. So I disappear. I leave town and it's over. But before I can leave town on the 9th of July, they come to my hotel where I'm staying at. I moved out my home, executive home, beautiful home, and into some hotels on the river. I go to my car. Something tells me to look underneath my seat. There's guns and drugs underneath my seat. So they were attempting to have me set up before I left town. So I take all the drugs, I take the guns, and I throw them in the river. Now I know that they're trying to set me up so I don't leave town. And that was 2012. I leave town right around, I go to UC Davis. I go to Davis before I go to Las Vegas. So I go to Davis, and from that point, I'm getting threats from the family of Shoshana Michelle Robertson. On January 5th, 2013, I called my father. How you doing? He said, man, I'm dying. I said, what you mean you dying? What you talk about, OG? What you mean? He said, man, they poisoned me. I said, who poisoned you? She said, Leslie, Joseph Owens, and Pamela Robertson. How they do that? You know what's going on, son. You know what they sent me. I said, okay, Dad, man, I love you, man. I'm gonna talk to you later. Evidently he was on one. And the next day I called Shoshana to ask what's going on. My dad said, y'all poisoned him. He said, yeah, and he dead. And you next. Well, I didn't know my father was dead until I called Shoshana. And Leslie Joseph Owens got on the phone. Leslie Joseph Owens said, yeah, you next. Pamela Robertson got on the phone. All you have to do is give us custody of Yeshua and we'll leave you alone. That's all we want. That day I found out my father was deceased.
The woman that he had been living with, she told me, after I called her, but another female called me and told me, the female named Maria called me the day before I talked to his wife and said that he was dead. Your husband is dead. And she just hung up the phone. And so I was trying to call Linda, but I didn't get her until the next day. And when I talked to her the next day, I said, Linda, what happened? She said, oh, he had an aneurysm. I said, oh, okay. So that's what I thought he died of, was an aneurysm. I didn't know until last year when I contacted the medical examiner in Boston that he died of acute fentanyl poisoning. And so I wanted to get his death certificate, but they wouldn't send me his death certificate because Linda signed her name as his wife when she was not his legal wife. I was, and she knows that. He died January 6, 2013.
My son was kidnapped October 1st, 2014. I did everything I could to get him back. Eventually got in touch with Officer Hartfield and explained to him that my son was kidnapped. He couldn't believe it. He said, no way. I said, yeah, 19 of your officers and a U.S. Marshal came to take him away. They claimed he was going to have a court date in 72 hours, but that never happened. I gave him all the evidence that I had, showing him what was going on. And he came back a couple months later with his eyes looking kind of sad, and said to me, they will kill us for exposing them for what happened. Number one, I'm sorry about what happened to your son and what's happening to your son. I'm going to go out there and see if I can locate him and see if I can talk to him to see how he's doing. Mr. Hartfield went to Howe Avenue Elementary in Las Vegas, Nevada. Howe Avenue Elementary in Sacramento, California, where he was federally kidnapped to. My son told Officer Hartfield that he was being molested, raped, filmed, and forced to drink 32-ounce cups of on camera.
Well, what happened to me was that, back in 2014, knocked down the door, had pinned to me, my dad's mom and my dad, and just at my dad and my mom and me, and telling me to be quiet, and then I was put in the receiving home after, and my other grandmother came and picked me up instead, and I was confused and questioned at the same time, and that's when things start to get really more intense.
Hartfield connected with Inspector General Walpen and Jennifer Hobbs. All this stuff is documented on my Google Drive. 2 Google Drives.
This is crazy.
gmail.com. Officer Hartfield connected with Captain Larry Burns of the Las Vegas Metro Police Department. They were working together to obtain all the information they were going to need for federal court and also state court to prove Yeshua was indeed kidnapped by co-workers of Las Vegas Metro Police Officer Charleston Hartfield. What Hartfield came back with was that his boss, Mr. Joe Lombardo, was guilty of the kidnapping NRS 200.320 of Yeshua. Several CPS workers and 19 co-workers of Mr. Charleston Hartfield were guilty of his federal kidnapping. This was confirmed by Las Vegas Metro Police Captain Larry Burns, 2017. Officer Hartfield had his case together and presented it to his union and the FBI of the Las Vegas FBI. 2 weeks later, October 1st, Mandalay Bay, where I have been a taxi driver since 2016. We had the Route 91 concert. Officer Hartfield, in his paperwork, filed an arrest warrant against, at this time, I believe, Commissioner Steve Sisolak. He also filed against his co-workers. This was a no-no in law enforcement. You don't tell on your guys. At the same time, Hartfield released his book, and his book will tell you that his Las Vegas Metro Police Department is corrupt. He informed us of the corruption in his book, and in retaliation for being a witness in my upcoming court date, November 6, 2017, Officer Hartfield was murdered in cold blood by 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦. 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦 was found in my house. I put a restraining order against him and my son's mother, who let him in the house because I was under terrorism. They were terrorizing me because 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦, who was the commissioner, was guilty of the federal kidnapping and state kidnapping of 𝗟𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓𝗓, my son. So that's a life sentence with no possibility of parole. Because of this, they chose to murder Hartfield after Hartfield filed an arrest warrant against them. This happened 2 weeks prior to them killing Officer Hartfield and 57 other innocent bystanders.
In a matter of seconds, a country music festival turned tragic, a storm of gunfire raining down upon an innocent crowd.
He was shooting everybody, and there was dead people everywhere, and I don't even know what was happening.
In the horror of the Las Vegas shooting, a few ran into the sound of gunfire and the hail of bullets to save others among them. Charleston Hartfield, an off-duty cop, was among them. He ran to help those under fire at the Route 91 Harvest Festival and gave his life doing it. You see his picture on the left there, the memorial service to him on the right. The Nevada National Guard honored him by promoting him to first sergeant at his funeral. Charleston Hartfield, one of the best America has to offer, was 34 years old.
Boy,
The shooter, 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦, worked for Lockheed Martin. He has been a government official. He falls under the government union. Nobody ever mentioned that. He worked for 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗓𝗡 for many years. In fact, they were all from the same city, and they've been knowing each other over 30 years. 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦 knew 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗡𝗓𝗡 for many, many years.
Wow.
And did jobs for him at his computer company. So, Officer Hartfield filed on everybody 2 weeks before he died. Because I had evidence to confirm everything that happened on my court date, November 6th, after Hartfield's murder, they denied me due process. They denied me the opportunity to speak, and they dropped the felony charges against me. Because I had already informed the internal affairs of why Hartfield was murdered. The internal affairs turned on me and came for me. Behind Officer Hartfield. Internal Affairs eventually had 2 more warrants placed for my arrest. I'm the victim, but they have to keep me contained because of Officer Hartfield's story. While keeping me contained, they're erasing all court dates, court files. You know, how do you erase somebody out of the court system? Because all the evidence in the court system was supported, assisted, connected to Officer Charleston Hartfield. My 2016 case, Officer Hartfield helped me put it together. Inspector General 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦 helped me put it together. So they had to erase all the evidence in these federal cases, and they used the federal case to hunt down Hartfield and to murder Hartfield. They used my 2016 U.S. District Court case, Johnson v. Schubert, to eliminate Officer Hartfield. Officer Hartfield wasn't the only target that day. I was the second target that day.
Here we go, y'all.
This happened where I drive taxis. Under the Nevada Taxi Authority. So Officer Hartfield's family didn't deserve this. Officer Hartfield was the only police officer that I know of, because I researched it, whose dead body was ever shown across social media. Officer Charleston Hartfield's body was the only police officer whose dead body was ever shown across all platforms of social media. They showed him laying dead after being riddled with bullets. To make that worse, they released his autopsy report to the public. I guess to say this is what happens to cops who tell on other cops for child trafficking and federal kidnapping 7-year-old children. Those who tell, this is what happened. So they allowed his autopsy to be placed across all platforms of social media. Never again in the history of the internet has a cop's riddled dead body ever been allowed to be placed on all platforms of social media. But this was a statement, I believe a statement from Obama, that this is what happens when cops tell on other cops for child trafficking. President Barack Obama aided and assisted in the coordination of the federal kidnapping of my son, 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦. This occurred in support of Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson.
Our top story of the early afternoon, a new push for details about the investigation into abuse allegations against Sacramento mayoral hopeful Kevin Johnson. This morning, a group of self-described activists gathered. They were demanding release of details about the investigation into the claims. KCRA3's Tom Duhane joins us live from Sacramento with the latest on demands and the Johnson campaign's response and what police have to say. Tom?
All right, right now, Walt, I'm in Oak Park on 2nd Avenue, and you can see this podium right behind me where Kevin Johnson and his supporters are going to have a news conference in about 15 minutes to respond to an event that happened this morning at the Sacramento Police Department.
Obama fired Inspector General 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦, who investigated Mayor Kevin Johnson during the AmeriCorps scandal, sex scandal in Sacramento County.
An update for the story that we brought you earlier this week. Barack Obama fired 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦. He is the Inspector General of the Corporation and National Community Service. That is the federal agency responsible for distributing money to organizations like AmeriCorps and places like Acorn. But Walpin was investigating the alleged misuse of the federal funds by Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson, former NBA star and Obama friend and supporter. Well, what happened? You're supposed to fire an inspector general with a 30-day notification. It's required by law, and you're supposed to say exactly what you're firing for. Well, responding to the critics like me, last night the White House released a statement explaining that Walpin was confused and disoriented, and they questioned his capacity to serve. With me now, fired Inspector General 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦. He is speaking out about the letter from the White House for the first time. Gerald, how are you, sir?
Fine. Good seeing you again.
Good to see you. Gee, that's not too veiled of a message that you're maybe a little too old for the job, Gerald. You might be a little senile.
Well, I suggest to you that it's really unfortunate when the government suggests that somebody is too old for public service.
Well, there were a couple of things that he said. That the board saw you in a meeting, and you were disoriented and confused and all disheveled. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, I was at a meeting making a presentation telling the board that they had the responsibility to act independently also, to oversee what the corporation was doing and shouldn't just follow blindly whatever the corporation said it was doing. And they refused to listen to me. Then I went on to the 2 reports we had issued. At least I tried to go on to them. I did one of them, and they were constantly peppering me with questions. Mm-hmm. I think for them to say that I was disoriented is an amazing slinging of mud.
This sex scandal involved a lot of young women who were all under the federal grant of AmeriCorps in Mayor Kevin Johnson's program. Obama came in to support Kevin Johnson because Kevin Johnson supported Obama with full support, financially and other, during his run for president.
I'm Kevin Johnson, and I'm running for mayor of Sacramento, California. I'm here at the Democratic Convention in Denver, Colorado, because I'm a proud American and I'm a proud Democrat. And Barack Obama has done something that we have not seen in 40-some-odd years in our lifetime. He's inspired and struck a chord in this country, and I think America's about to have real change.
Obama felt, I believe, that he owed Kevin Johnson, so he stopped the federal investigation. I was the keeper of federal evidence for Inspector General 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦 through Shoshana Michelle Robertson, who initiated the federal investigation against Mayor Kevin Johnson, which was her first cousin. Obama came in, stopped that, because Mayor Kevin Johnson was on his way to not being the mayor of Sacramento if this information would have hit the media. So Obama shut it down. I am still part of that investigation. So I believe Obama came for me. Obama came for me through obtaining my child through fraud, force, and coercion during the federal kidnapping. Well, after the federal kidnapping, my son was sex trafficked from age 7 to age 15. Obama is 100% guilty of that happening because Obama demonized me in the media through the use of a congressional authorized organization called the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Obama used America's Most Wanted, John Walsh, the #1 face in law enforcement in the world, to have me labeled as a child sex perpetrator in the media by placing me on every Walmart wall in America for my capture and murder.
We were in Walmart in Vegas, and my son, he called me over. He said, "Mom, come here. Come here." I said, "What?" He said, "Look up there." And they got the boards, you know, with missing children and stuff. And they had him and Joshua's picture on the billboard. On the board.
Wow.
In Walmart. Polyclass. I call them people. I said, "How you going to help somebody abduct a child? You supposed to be about."
Wow.
And they
that's
brushed
crazy.
me off. You know, I said, this boy was not kidding. The police kid, Y'all help the police. Y'all help child trafficking. But see, Vegas is a hub of child trafficking. You know, so it was a lost cause when he went there in the first place.
Obama needed me to be eradicated in order to continue to conceal the investigation of Inspector General 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦. Inspector General 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦 was a witness in my federal case, 2016, early 2016. Before we can get into court and before I can drop the case, he was ran over by a car. Obama
Are y'all serious?
used all his political power to block me from ever receiving a court date and my child from ever receiving a court date after the child was federally kidnapped, in order for us never to prove the source of his federal kidnapping. This is my plea to Congress and all the subcommittees that deal with the judicial review and government oversight. My son Yeshua was trafficked at age 7 all the way to age 15. And those who violated federal kidnapping laws were not prosecuted due to their personal relationships with the FBI. When personal relationships block FBI investigations, child sex trafficking begins. No child deserves to be raped. In fact, it is the most horrific crime that I can think of for a human being's child to be raped at age 7 daily through age 15. Congress, please allow me and my son, Yeshua, to present our case because we are being denied due process. Those who violated federal kidnapping laws have blocked our due process for 9 years. Since 2014, those child trafficking ring members who happen to be public officials have concealed the federal kidnapping and child sex trafficking of my son to prevent them from the Nevada life sentence of no possibility of parole under NRS law 200.320. Congress, I'm asking you, all we're asking for is due process for a 7-year-old child trafficking victim who's still alive. Most child trafficking victims aren't alive because they are murdered by the child traffickers for exposing them. Child trafficking is the fastest growing illegal business in America, and it's being concealed because it's a larger corporation than Walmart, Walgreens, and Nike combined. Help us stop child sex trafficking by allowing us to speak to Congress. The evidence we have shows public officials trafficking children and denying the children due process in violation of the Social Security Act's Interstate Compact for the Placement of Children. They block due process through the use of judges that they have on their take. If it makes more than Walmart, there's a lot of money going around. Please allow the children of America due process against their violent child sex traffickers and federal kidnappers. This is my plea. Thank you.
what are you supposed to do? Who are you supposed to believe? Can you imagine this video right here, right? It's an hour long. And I saw a couple of cuts, so you gotta get all your information. My point is, this man is trying to get his son. And he's pointing the finger at some very big people. He's pointing the finger at some very large people. It's almost like the higher up the person is and the lower this person is, it's like, it's unbelievable. They had this man on a missing kids, and if you see this guy turn him in, he's a pedophile, whatever the case may be. Have you ever thought that the information that's on this milk carton, or the information that's being publicly, if you see this guy, turn him in? Nah, dude, I didn't do it. Just because he's on the piece of paper, you think he's guilty automatically. Oh my God, I ain't never thought about that. Never thought about that. Never thought that the person that's on the police want to talk to him because they want to shut him up. Oh my God, that was deep right there. That's too deep right there. Too strong. You're going too deep on me. I'll give you a thumbs up. I forgot to give him a thumbs up, y'all. I'm going to get on up out of here. Wow, man, this is some scary stuff. Scary stuff. Who do you believe? Who are you supposed to believe? I'm going to get on up out of here. Y'all take it light, take it slow. Tell them Uncle Mike told you so. Don't forget, Obama was hanging around Puffy too now. Just don't forget that part, though. Peace out.